Again. Hi everyone, today we'll walk you through our team analysis and strategy for Bytecraft. Karnika, I was the president of overall leadership, even as the vice president of accounting and finance. Laurel as vice president of manufacturing and sales. Last but not the least, Patrick as vice president of HR and marketing. We focused on performance in targeting the Mercedes and workhorse market segments. Our strategy emphasized local sales offices and significant investment in fixed assets, quality control, and research and development. This approach positioned Bytecraft as a leader in a growing yet competitive industry. Now, Laurel will walk you through the industry analysis of our company.
Hi, yes, the microcomputer industry in our simulation is new with just 4 companies competing to fill demand. By the end of Q8, the total revenue for the industry was just under 200 million. Globally speaking, this is a tiny industry. Because of this, its growth rate is extremely high, averaging a growth of $36 million per quarter during the quarters in which sales actually occurred. The simulation industry's net profit margin of 10.17 is almost half that of the real world industry. This is likely due to companies not yet fully capturing economies of scale. When we look at the 5 forces model for the simulated microcomputer industry, we mostly see opportunities. Competitive rivalry is currently low because the 4 companies vary greatly in size. Also, because the high growth rate of the industry means there is plenty of demand to go around. Customer power is low, since there are many customers, each making small purchases. There are no effective substitutes for a computer. Once you've started using spreadsheets or word processors, the thought of returning to calculators, pen, and paper is unappealing. However, supplier power for 2 main computer components, CPUs and GPUs, is high and represents one of the 2 threats companies face in the industry. The other threat is from new entrants, not new computer companies, since everyone in the class has already been assigned to a team. However, a large consumer electronics company who chooses to diversify horizontally into the microcomputer industry could pose a serious threat to existing companies, since they are all still comparatively small, and customers have low switching costs. Distribution channels are readily accessible, especially to a company that may already have its own. Regulations are low, and the manufacturing learning curves and economies of scale may already have been met by a company familiar with electronics manufacturing. Next, Karnika will walk us through the company analysis.
Thank you, Laurel. So first, I'll cover the company analysis, its resources. Bytecraft's resources are unparalleled. We have the largest fixed production capacity in the industry and the most extensive sales force, with 10 local offices saturating 2 regions. Our balanced scorecard performance is 3 times higher than our closest competitors, which showcase superior organizational efficiency. These strengths enable us to lead in the productivity and market presence. The company holds a commanding market share of 64% in the primary market and 51% in the secondary market, supported by top performing ads and industry leading product reliability. It also excels in R&D with the highest project competitions and offer competitive salaries across all regions. Our competitive advantage lies in the financial strength and resource allocation. Bytecraft's cumulative financial performance is nearly double of that its competitors, enabling significant investment in R&D and quality control. However, challenges such as uncertain demands and increased competition emphasize the need to sustain innovation and customer satisfaction. Now, Patrick will walk you through the current strategy analysis.
Thank you, Karnika. So for our current strategy analysis, we'll be taking a closer look at our approach, which was a differentiation approach. And this was the plan from the beginning of Bytecraft. And so we designed target products for specific markets, starting with workhorse and traveler. At that time, the Mercedes segment was really not yet attainable due to the significant investments in R&D that were required to meet the needs of those customers. We prioritized suitability and attempted to control cost in this phase of the organization. The products were designed with careful attention to what customers in those segments wanted, needed, and how they used the devices. And in the production process, we exploited design overlap to reduce changeover cost and then as well as reduce time with the production process. So as we moved forward, we continued with our differentiation approach. We decided to target specific markets, but we also had opportunities in other markets as well. So the Mercedes market and the workhorse market were our primary and secondary markets. However, we also had overlap between Mercedes as well as in the innovator segment, which produced significant revenue for us. And the older, outdated workhorse models attracted the cost cutters after we made a slight cost reduction to those products. The traveler model continued to do well in terms of market share and revenue, so we continued to update and redesign that product as needed. One of the other significant pieces of the differentiation approach is we really prioritized quality over cost. So we focused heavily on research and development projects that fit the Mercedes product in terms of the wants and needs of those customers, as well as an investment in quality control, which allowed us to achieve the highest reliability in the market. So looking at our strategy in terms of the appropriateness for this industry. So with regard to the Mercedes segment, because of the high value there for research and development and quality products, this fit really well. We had tremendous synergy, and this was a tremendous success in terms of market share and revenue. The workhorse segment was also very large and allowed for significant company growth. And there was overlap with some of the R&D projects from the Mercedes that helped really enhance that market segment. The additional segments added revenue, increased market share, and brand recognition, which were all positives. Overall, we were very successful in utilizing the differentiation strategy for Bytecraft. Now I'm going to hand it over to Evan for performance analysis.
Thank you, Patrick. So let's take a look at some of the ratios from our financial performance, starting with debt ratios. We had better than industry average trailing 12-month current and quick ratios due to the cash that we had built over our leveraged assets. We had a small emergency loan in Q5 and fairly decent sized conventional loans in Q6 and 7 that were all paid off in Q8. As far as leverage goes, we managed our balance sheet incredibly well. Our TTM debt ratio was 16.62% compared to the industry average of 42.28%, and a very staggering 25.73% matched up against the industry average of 974% of debt to paid in capital. Overall, in Q8, after we had cleared off the debt side of our balance sheet, we had a debt leverage capacity of $55.5 million in conventional loans or $74 million in long-term notes. Next, moving on to the sales and activity ratios, we were kind of a victim of our own success because we had built up such a strong amount of cash and fixed assets that it sort of diminished the return on some of our asset ratios. However, if you look at our industry-leading fixed asset turnover ratio, in spite of the fact that we had $12 million worth of fixed assets, we were still the industry leader in the most recent quarter with 8.58 as our fixed asset turnover ratio and a better than industry average of 4.51 in the trailing 12 months. Our total, from a profitability standpoint, we had competitive gross profit margins and an industry-leading most recent quarter net profit margin of 21.5% versus the industry average of 10%. Our return on assets was also industry-leading at 63% and against the industry average of 30.34%, which is all the more impressive considering how much more we had in assets on our balance sheet than the rest of our competition. Moving on to the summary, from a performance analysis perspective, some very staggering numbers in terms of year-on-year growth in revenues of 3,211%, and gross profits, which increased by well over 3,000% as well. And at the end of the simulation, in the most recent quarter, our revenues represented 56.5% of the market. And in the trailing 12 months, we were 49.8% of all revenues in the entire market. And jumping down to the net income, we were a whopping 80.9% of all earnings in the most recent quarter and 110.9% in the trailing 12 months when you take into account some of the negative earnings that our competitors had. Moving on to the proposed strategy moving forward, really we're looking at, because of the success of our broad differentiation strategy being so effective, we're really looking at tactical adjustments only to ensure our continued success. When you look at our target markets, we were still going to primarily target the Mercedes and continue to pursue the upgrades that we had been adding into that market, as well as the workhorse, which was one of the largest markets to pursue. And we were going to leverage our competitive advantages with both our financial strength and business acumen and our investments in R&D and fixed capacity to build scope and scale, as well as the quality control and changeover improvements that made us the most reliable company in the market. To take you over some of the more fine details, we're going to turn it back over to Patrick.
Thanks, Evan. Yeah, so taking a closer look at some of our functional areas. In human resources, we're going to maintain a competitive compensation package. Throughout the past 6 quarters, this has been an area of intense rivalry with our competitors. We want to maintain productivity near 100%, and that's going to require constant attention to ensure that we're offering competitive compensation in both sales and production. On the production and operations side, we're going to aggressively expand our fixed capacity to accommodate our projected growth. And we're going to invest heavily in quality control to maintain our industry status as a leader in reliability. On the research and development side, this one is critical. We're going to prioritize Mercedes upgrades. So any project that is of value to our Mercedes segment, we're going to continue to pursue those investments heavily and maintain our leadership in the technology area of the industry. On the marketing side, we're going to continue to focus on the Mercedes and workhorse market segments and maintain local store web mix and 60% ad budget quarterly growth focused on those 2 areas. Finally, on the sales side, we're going to be opening a local sales office in Abu Dhabi. Across the board, we'll be increasing all local sales staff in our on-site sales offices, and then our web centers will be increasing staff as well, according to our overall sales projections. To wrap things up, welcome back, Laurel.
Thanks. So in conclusion, this industry presents a lot of opportunities to the companies in it. Bytecraft's strategy of broad differentiation was successful in capturing demand and generating revenue. We not only had the highest balanced scorecard for quarter 8, but also cumulatively. In fact, we scored in the top 10% globally in the simulation. Because of this, we wouldn't change our strategy going forward. However, since our biggest challenge is making enough products to meet demand, we would make tactical adjustments to the number of salespeople we hire and how aggressively we build out our production capacity to bring our stockout percentage down under 10%. Overall, we had a lot of fun with the simulation and wish we could have continued it a few quarters longer. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.